In the vast realm of philosophical inquiry, the Matrix trilogy stands as a testament to the age-old question: is the world we perceive merely an illusion? The Wachowskis, creators of this cinematic saga, cleverly interweave references to influential thinkers, both overtly and subtly, offering a thought-provoking experience that sparks profound contemplation. Four remarkable philosophical touchstones come to the forefront throughout the Matrix trilogy, drawing inspiration from the works of Jean Baudrillard's Simulacra and Simulation, Plato's Allegory of the Cave, Socrates' encounter with the Oracle of Delphi, and the profound ideas of René Descartes. These films pay homage to these intellectual giants, delving into their concepts to forge their own set of existential inquiries. The foundation of the Matrix rests on a philosophical query posed by René Descartes, the 17th century French philosopher known for the Cartesian coordinates and the famous dictum, "I think, therefore I am." Descartes proposed the principle of dualism, which posits the separation of mind and body as distinct entities, asserting that the mind can exist independently of the physical form. In Descartes' book Meditation on First Philosophy, published in 1641, he explores the question of how one can be certain that the world they perceive is not a deceptive illusion created by an evil demon. Descartes describes this malevolent devil as deceiving me, leading him to doubt the existence of everyday phenomena like the sky or a river. He contemplates, "I shall consider myself as not having hands or eyes, or flesh or blood or senses, but as falsely believing that I have all these things." Building upon Descartes' ideas, philosopher Hilary Putnam introduced the brain in a vat thought experiment in the 1980s, serving as a modernized version of Descartes' evil demon argument. This experiment forms the basis of the Matrix's premise. Both Descartes and the Matrix challenge the nature of reality. Descartes' famous phrase, "Cogito ergo sum," I think, therefore I am, asserts that our ability to think and question proves our existence. Thus, even if a demon deceives him, Descartes must exit for the deception to occur. Likewise, the existence of Neo and the other characters in the Matrix is secure, since they must exist in the first place to be plugged into the simulated reality. The brain in a vat thought experiment takes the notion further, envisioning a scenario where one's consciousness exists solely as a brain submerged in a vat of nutrients, connected to a sophisticated computer program. In this simulated reality, all sensory information, including perceptions of the external world, other individuals, and even one's own body, is artificially generated by the computer. As the brain perceives these stimuli as real experiences, it becomes impossible to distinguish between the authenticity of the perceived reality and the computer-generated simulation. The thought experiment extends this skepticism to everything, raising doubts about the definitive nature of any aspect of existence. If one cannot prove they are not merely a brain in a vat, how can they establish the certainty of anything else? The taste of chicken, the fundamental laws of physics, and even the people one knows and loves may all be nothing more than elements of a computer simulation. Critics argue that the concept of an entirely artificial and simulated universe lacks practical utility and serves primarily as a device for discussing epistemology, the branch of philosophy concerned with the nature, origin, and scope of human knowledge. At the beginning of The Matrix, we witness Neo's struggle as he grapples with the boundaries of human knowledge. Later in the story, Neo embarks on a journey into the unknown after choosing the red pill presented by Morpheus. By doing so, he awakens from the familiar but illusory simulation that has shaped his entire life. However, the question arises, does this newfound knowledge truly benefit him or anyone else trapped within the simulation? While Neo gains awareness, it ultimately leads to more suffering. In fact, one character opts to return to the simulation, willingly having their knowledge erased. This begs the question, what value does knowledge hold? One of the most overt philosophical references occurs early in The Matrix, when Neo conceals illegal software inside a hollowed-out copy of Jean Baudrillard's book Simulacra and Simulation. Originally published in 1981, Baudrillard's work argues that contemporary consumer culture has evolved to a state where simulations or imitations of reality hold more prominence than reality itself. He terms this condition as the hyperreal. For instance, activities like walking and running, once vital in pre-modern societies, have been transformed into recreational pursuits with specialized shoes, clothing, books, and equipment. Similarly, while communities no longer produce food locally or rely on whole grains as a staple, there are health food options that replicate the experience of a traditional peasant's diet. Baudrillard contends that consumer culture has shifted from being surrounded by representations or imitations of existing things to a state in which our lives are saturated with simulations, objects that appear to represent something else, but have created the very reality they seem to refer to. In this context, the world of simulation assumes a life of its own, causing reality itself to erode, akin to a desert. Morpheus introduces Neo to the real world, welcoming him to the desert of the real, a phrase borrowed from the opening page of Baudrillard's Simulacra and Simulation. Thus, the entire concept underlying the Matrix films can be interpreted as a critique of the artificial consumer culture in which we live, a culture that potentially distracts us from the reality of our exploitation by external forces, paralleling the way machines exploit humans in the Matrix for their bioelectricity. Undoubtedly, one of the most prominent inspirations for the Matrix comes from Plato's allegory of the cave. The story unfolds with a group of individuals who have been bound within a cave since birth. They perceive shadows of people and objects flickering in front of them, but never experience the tangible reality of those figures. One day, one of the prisoners manages to break free from the cave and escapes into the outside world. Overwhelmed by the vivid colors and textures of this new realm, the sunlight strains their eyes. They struggle to comprehend what they see. After spending sufficient time acclimating to the outside world, the freed prisoner returns to the cave, eager to enlighten their fellow captives about the alternate reality they have discovered. However, the prisoners dismiss the escapees' claims as madness, refusing to believe their account and even turning hostile. The parallels between the Matrix and Plato's allegory are evident. The Matrix serves as a contemporary equivalent of the cave. Neo's query, "Why do my eyes hurt?" directly alludes to the allegory. This narrative demonstrates how those trapped in ignorance often refuse to acknowledge their lack of knowledge. When confronted with the truth, they reject it or respond with hostility. In fact, Socrates himself was executed by the Athenian government for supposedly disturbing the peace and corrupting the minds of the youth. An intriguing question arises: who determines that the outside world is more real than the cave? Why is the spaceship more genuine than the Matrix? One possible answer lies in the concept of free will. Choosing to inhabit the outside world suggests personal agency, while being confined to the cave or serving as a mere battery within the Matrix denies individual autonomy. But what if one willingly chooses to remain in the Matrix? What if ignorance is their preferred state? And if their mind perceives it as real, does that make it so? Another narrative that the Matrix draws from is the tale of Socrates and the Oracle of Delphi. Socrates often professed his own ignorance, Yet his friend Chaerephon sought the oracle's insight, asking if anyone was wiser than Socrates. The oracle responded that there was none. Perplexed by this proclamation, Socrates embarked on a mission to prove the oracle wrong. He engaged in discussions with highly esteemed Athenian figures such as politicians, poets, and skilled craftsmen. To his surprise, he discovered that these individuals considered themselves wise even though they possessed no genuine wisdom. Socrates ultimately concluded that his acknowledgement of his own ignorance made him the wisest. We can draw a parallel to Neo's encounter with the oracle in the Matrix. Initially skeptical of Morpheus's assertion that he is the one, Neo enters the oracle's domain where he encounters a Latin phrase that translates to know thyself. This same inscription was found in the Temple of Apollo at Delphi. Over time, Neo gains self-awareness and ultimately believes in his role as the One. The Matrix leaves its audience pondering fundamental questions. What defines reality? What constitutes a person? Is it preferable to know the truth, or does ignorance indeed bring bliss? And of course, the pivotal choice: will you opt for the red pill or the blue pill?